Have you ever uncovered a shocking secret that instantly changed your state? Well, that's precisely what happened to me. I discovered that my fiancé is actually my little brother's father. And if that's not bad enough, he cheated on me with my own mother. How do you even process something like this? Today, I'm sharing everything with you. How I discovered the truth and what I will do next. My little brother is actually my fiancé's kid. Yes, I know the title is messed up. My fiancé, a 25-year-old man, and I, a 24-year-old woman, have been dating since we were 17 or 18. Honestly, he was always polite, gorgeous, and amusing, and everyone told me how lucky I was to have the complete package. I, too, felt fortunate. He always treated me with love and respect, which is all so shocking. I have always had an excellent relationship with my mother. It's always been she and me against the world. My father perished in an accident when I was a child. We often joked about being the real-life Rory and Lorelai from Gilmore Girls. My mother dated men on and off, and they were typically lovely, but nothing went beyond the early phases. My mother told me she was pregnant about 4 years ago, which took me entirely by surprise. My mother was around 42 years old, and although she had recently started seeing someone, I hadn't met him but knew she went on dates. It was still a considerable shock. She never imagined she would be pregnant at her age. She had me when she was young, oopsie, and I could see she was stressed and worried. I chose to support her since she had always supported me, and I attempted to reassure her. She later had my brother, who is now 3 years old. I have a close relationship with my brother. I've helped care for him since he was born, and I adore the little man. My fiancé was always helpful to my brother. We would take him out for ice cream to the playground and have a good time over the summer. But nothing was strange. He was just my then-boyfriend, spending time with my brother and I. Now, here's how I found out. My fiancé and I have been living together since we finished college. My fiancé was not at home because he was out with friends, but I was there because I didn't want to go out and wanted to relax on my sofa. My laptop died when I binge-watched a Netflix series. I was too lazy to retrieve my charger, so I used my fiancé's iPad instead. I know the password, but have never used it before. The iPad logged in, and I started receiving texts. He hasn't used it in a while either. Anyway, this piqued my interest, so I went to investigate, and as expected, I discovered everything. My mother's phone number was not listed under her name, but I recognized it and verified it with my phone. She was telling him she felt guilty and wanted me to know. He claimed he felt awful too, but he couldn't lose me, and they messed it up. She stated that it was unjust for my brother to never know his father, and that if he could live with his kid around, not acting like a father but as a brother-in-law. I broke down. What is the authentic F? There weren't many earlier messages, only a few images of my brother as a newborn, my mother, and her pregnancy. In addition, there is an album with more images of my brother growing up. I couldn't do it anymore. I cried for what felt like hours as I waited for my lover to return home. I wish I was one of those ladies who can pretend calm before confronting the cheater, but I can't. He returned later that night, at 11:30 p.m., and I simply handed him the iPad with the discussion open. I noticed his face grow ashen. I begged for an explanation. When, how, and why. And he didn't want to at first, but he realized he had to. Apparently, a few years ago, while I was on a girls' trip with some pals, my fiancé and my mother shared dinner. This is not surprising, given his extensive history with the family. Mom and my fiancé occasionally ate together at our house, even when I was busy with sports or out. I did the same thing with his folks. One thing led to another, although it's unclear how because he couldn't explain it effectively. They ended up sleeping together. They felt awful, but not guilty enough, because they slept with me 2 or 3 more times, under the excuse of meeting to plan how to notify me. Apparently, when my mother became pregnant, they stopped sleeping together and chose not to tell me since my fiancé loved me and did not want to lose me, and my mother did not want to lose her daughter. So here we are with 2 of the most awful people. I ended the engagement, told my mother not to speak to me again, and moved in with a friend. I feel terrible for my brother since I love him, but I can't be around him now. I simply can't. It would remind me of all the times we discussed having children. I was supposed to be his sole baby mother. We've talked about this future since we were 17, and it makes me want to puke every time I think about how I was actually caring for his child with someone else while still having those hopes. I want to vomit. Crazy, right? I don't think I ever saw that in a Gilmore Girls episode. In terms of the aftermath, breaking relationships was the right move. It's also strange that I didn't ask more questions when my mother unexpectedly became pregnant, and I never learned who the baby's father was or even met the guy she said she was dating. Looking back on all that mystery, I wasn't curious to investigate more. As I expected, I was approached near my office this week. I knew it was coming, but I assumed I had more time. My ex came to locate me yesterday, Wednesday, after I had ended work and was walking to my car. He lingered and waited around. I considered running, but at the moment I felt strong enough to get it done rather than wait for it to happen again. He asked if we could talk, and I said yes, but I didn't want to sit down for coffee like we were old friends. It felt absurd, so I told him to talk right there. We were on the street, which wasn't very packed, but partially occupied felt right. He basically apologized 100 times and told me I deserved better. I agreed. He said he loved me and still does, but he understood why I didn't want anything to do with him. He claimed that if I ever considered giving him another chance, he would go to therapy, alone, together, or both, and strive hard to regain my trust. I told him it was not possible. There was too much destruction. It sounds peaceful when I type it, but in reality, the words come out louder and rougher. Anyway, he added that he is in the process of obtaining custody, partially through my brother, and wants to be a father to him. He also said he did not want to stay with my mother, which was a terrible mistake. Sure, because a 4 to 5 times mistake is simply a chance occurrence. He couldn't explain why he did it in the first place, and I suspect he doesn't even recognize himself. I asked if he'd ever cheated on someone else. He said no. I don't believe him, but he sounded honest. When I inquired why he didn't come clean, he explained that he always felt scared after doing the crime. He realized that he could lose me and did not want that to happen. I told him that was meant to be revealed and that his objective was to keep my brother around while ignoring the relationship forever. He said he didn't plan ahead and was taking each day. I inquired whether he thought my mother had seduced him, and he answered it was mutual, which made me want to vomit again. I asked if he had made any contact with my mother since I found out, and he answered yes, but mainly concerning my brother. He didn't go into more detail, and I didn't press for it. He claimed to have told his parents everything the day before or even the day before, Monday or Tuesday. His parents were upset but eager to have a relationship with my brother, their grandchild. Honestly, everything felt like a hit in the stomach. I'm not sure why, but his parents wanted to contact me and he urged them to wait until he reached me first, which is why he was there. I asked if he had begun thinking about custody before I found out, and he answered no. Still, my discovery was the catalyst he needed. Great. It appears I helped him get his act together. He'd been arranging all that nonsense over the last week, so he hadn't sought to see me. He sounded and looked dejected, but everything about it made me angry and sad. I was previously depressed, but now I'm simply enraged. I believe he is still in a good place and is not paying the consequences of his behavior other than my leaving him. He'll have my brother, his parents, and others, and he'll go on with his life while I lose everything. I absolutely despise him. We left ways on a nasty note, and I told him not to come near me again. I was finished. I went to see my brother, and it was significant to him. He tried to guilt-trip me, which worked, but I still believe I can't. I don't know much about my mother, and I hope she doesn't come after me anytime soon since I'm angry right now and won't handle it. I'll contact my family and friends before eventually bombing today. I think it's about time, and my conversation with him gave me the extra push I need. I believe he's apologizing like a broken record and providing treatment as if the magic wand can cure the turmoil he's caused. I feel as if that ship sailed the moment he impregnated your mother. Understandably, you are angry. You did not sign up for any of this, OP. Unleash your rage, and who knows, once it's all out, you might not want to go to Australia. But a little holiday never harmed anyone. A lot has happened. I did the blasting, and here's how it turned out. I originally posted on my family's Facebook page, from my mother's side of the family. I wanted to let you all know that my wedding with my ex has been permanently canceled since I discovered that my mom and ex had a sexual relationship over the last few years, which resulted in the birth of my little brother. I had no idea about this until I found out last week. For obvious reasons, I will no longer maintain a relationship with him. I would appreciate your understanding and wanted to let you all know I also sent a screenshot of my mother's message and my answer when I found out. I blocked her after that, so I didn't read her response until just before the blast since I didn't want to be convinced by her comments. It burst. Family members began texting and calling all day following the bomb. The majority were quite supportive. I could see they were just astonished. A few were neutral, while others were dubious, believing it wasn't the complete story, or that I had misread something. My grandparents were in the maybe misunderstood group, which wasn't surprising given how close my mother was to them. As I previously stated, my mother had always been an excellent mother with no red signs. I'll be moving in with a cousin who feels more like a sister to me. I hadn't contacted her before because I knew if she knew, everything would change. That's why I went to my friend's house first. My cousin is devastated for me and has offered me a place to stay with her and her 2 children until I can get back on my feet. I accepted, and I'll be moving next week. I know staying at my friend's house forever isn't an option, but moving in with my cousin may provide my mother with easier access to me. I promptly posted a similar message on Instagram, where we share most of our high school and local university connections. I wrote a close friends tale and tagged most of them. It kind of became viral in our friend group. One of my friends even texted me my Reddit post and inquired if I was the one who wrote it. I confirmed, and they were stunned and flabbergasted. None of them expected my ex to do something like this. They said, "He was crazy about you." Well, it appears he went overboard on the crazy side. Currently, the friend group is fragmented. Some agree with me, while others believe there is more to the story or that I misinterpreted it. I told everybody who contacted me that if they didn't believe me, they should ask him why he was pursuing custody of my younger brother. For the time being, that is enough to silence them. My ex has subsequently erased his social media accounts. His parents contacted me, just as I expected. They were courteous and apologized for everything, but it was evident that they were supporting their kid. They were also unhappy with my mother and stated that they wanted nothing to do with her. But I'm not sure how that will work with my younger brother in the picture. They tried to provide me information on the custody battle and what my ex was up to, but I swiftly shut it down. I told them I didn't want to hear it and needed space. I begged them not to contact me anytime soon, mainly since they supported him. He currently lives with his parents. Following the blast, both my ex and my mother went crazy trying to contact me. They attempted to phone my pal, but she blocked them. They even started calling me from other numbers, so I had to silence my phone and ignore everyone. My mother sent me a long SMS from a new phone number, which was strange. She accused me of being cruel and claimed she did not raise me that way. She thought we had a better relationship than my airing the dirty laundry without first consulting her. She also claimed I didn't know the whole story. Then she said something that made me quite confused. She stated that the reason she slept with my ex was because he reminded her of my father. She claimed it was grief, that she did not intend to exploit him to relieve her anguish, but she was unable to stop. I'm not sure what she meant by it. Did she believe my ex looked like my father, or was it something about his personality? I've seen images of my father, and while he's not that different from my ex, they're also not exactly the same. They both have dirty blonde hair, blue eyes, and light skin, which is typical. I don't understand it. Honestly, the comment threw me off. It makes me want to confront my mother just to figure out what she meant. I was surprised by what she had to say. I'm holding up better now. I don't cry every hour now. I still want to murder both of them, but I'm also heartbroken and upset. This doesn't feel like my life. It's like a big joke or a bad dream, and everything will return to normal when I wake up. I've been thinking about my future and decided I need to start planning. I'm considering applying for employment elsewhere or looking at prospects abroad more actively. I suggest requesting 2 to 3 days off work to collect my thoughts and conduct some research. Honestly, I'm terrified and frozen, but I know I have to start going forward. That's my tale for now. I am still digesting everything, but putting it here helps me get through it. Thank you for reading. Having a place to express what is going on means a lot. Please subscribe if you want to keep up with how things progress or stay informed. I'll post more as I go through this, and I appreciate your support.